Hey guys, so I'm going to do a really quick video here just going over kind of the install process of swapping out your standard gauge cluster to a Denali gauge cluster, and then at the end of the video I'll post some links and stuff to where you can go and do this yourself. So to start with, here is kind of your standard gauge cluster. It has the four gauges at the top that are the manual gauges versus the Denali has a big LCD screen that everything is digital on. Realistically, you have to send off the Denali cluster, or you can order it right from the company. It's called Automotive and Media. You can order one from them, or you can go and purchase one separately, send it off to them, have them program it for your truck, and then when you get it back, it's a direct plug and play. I just kind of tore apart my dash a little bit just so you can kind of see how easy it is to swap it out. For one, you pop off this top cover. Then there's going to be 3 bolts, one right there, there, and there. You're going to push this the steering wheel lever down just to clear this little area, and then literally just kind of pull out on this. So right there's 2 clips at the bottom right there, 2 on that side, and then 2 on this side. And once you've done that, this piece just literally just raises out. So we'll set that off to the side here. Then you're gonna have 2 bolts, or sorry, 4 screws total, one right there, there, and then one at the bottom and the other side. Once you undo that, this cluster literally will just come out, and then there's a clip in the back. Now I'll mention on this one, on the back side of this, the clip, or on the Denali cluster, the clip clips on this side, but on the standard or the regular cluster, the clip is actually on this side. There's a hole where the harness passes through, one on this side and on this side, and I had to push my harness back through and around and bring it back out on this side so it'll clip into this cluster correctly, because otherwise it wouldn't reach to the plug on this side. Another thing that a question was asked on the L5P forum or Duramax Facebook page was if these lenses are interchangeable with the old ones. So mine actually came with a couple scratches on it, and I was going to swap the lenses out with my old one since my old lens is in really good condition still, but come to find out they're quite a bit different. So the shape is the same, but the Denali has these clips that you can actually pry up on and the lens will come off, whereas the standard one does not. It's actually sealed all the way around the edge. It's glued on. So I'll have to order a separate one from a different company to replace mine, which isn't a big deal. Anyway, so while this is torn apart, just for now, I'll turn this back on, and then you can see the way everything works. So we'll get this thing fired up. All right, so as you can see, here, let me shut my door. As you can see, everything works on this just like it has a bunch of different settings on it. Here, let me put that of that. All your settings and info and everything are right there. You can go to your options, and when you're in the options menu, you can select, your units, US or metric. You can select the theme that you have, your display theme. So a standard theme is going to be kind of like the factory gauge cluster that's not the Denali, where it has the 4 gauges in the middle. A nice thing about this one is when you hit the tow haul mode button, it's going to actually change and bring up your transmission fluid temp where the battery temp or the battery voltage normally is. If you go to the technology screen, which is probably my favorite screen, this one's going to show when you hit the tow haul mode, it's actually going to bring up your oil pressure on the left as well as your transmission fluid temperature on the right. So it gives you a couple extra gauges on that screen. Both of those are also going to have down below, right where I'm pointing, that's going to actually be where your trailer brake is. It'll show you kind of your gain on your trailer brake as you're using it. So I'll leave it on that. I'll just turn tow haul mode off. If you scroll down, this is going to be your pages, where you're in the main DIC part of your gauge is going to show you all the different options or parameters and things that you can keep an eye on, that you can page through. If they're in white, it means they're turned off. If they're in blue, it means that they're turned on. So I just have the ones that I normally use turned on right now. So let's exit out of that. Let's go back up here. You have your audio. It's just the same as the factory cluster. That's not the Denali. You have your audio, your phone, and then this one actually has navigation, which my phone's not connected right now to use the navigation to pull up a map. And I can try, let's see if it does anything with the map right here. Nope. So when my phone is connected and I have actually a signal, it'll catch the map and it'll display a map right there where your navigation is, which is kind of neat. So let's go back up to the info portion. So this is going to have your menu. You can flip through your menu of the different options that you selected back on the settings part, and kind of a cool thing. And that's kind of the gist of this gauge cluster. So it just gives you a lot more options. It's a lot, it's a lot fancier looking. I really like that, and I feel like that was worth the $450 I spent on it. Another question was that I was asked was, how much was this kind of broken down? I got my cluster off of eBay. I paid $200 for it, and I shipped it into White Automotive and Media Services, and they were the ones that do the programming of it. That cost another $200, and then about $50 in shipping. They charge, I think, around $30 to ship it back to you, and I think from my place, I paid about $20 to ship it to them. So altogether is around $450 to do this. I will post, like I said, some links here pretty quick and show you exactly how to do this yourself. A couple of things to note. The cluster that you buy, make sure you distinguish whether, whether it's a brand new cluster or whether it's a used cluster, because they do have to program it differently depending on the used or new feature of it. The other thing is, when you get your cluster, before you send it off to White Automotive, never plug it into your truck, because it can brick your truck basically, and then it won't work at all. And lastly, as far as the mileage and timer settings, the way this works is, for instance, on this new cluster, when I plugged this in, it actually pulled the mileage or my odometer reading right from the ECU, and so I didn't have to change anything or have them update the odometer reading, anything like that. As far as the timer, it did not transfer over the idle time and run time of my truck over to this. So that is a feature. I think they can program that. I didn't have them do that on my truck though. So with that being said, if you have any other questions, hit me up on YouTube in the comments below, or you can find me probably on the L5P pages and feel free to ask. I don't know everything about it, but I do know that this was a pretty easy and simple swap, and altogether from start to finish, I sent my cluster in about a week and a half ago and got it back today. So about a week and a half, and then it took all of about 5 minutes to swap it out. Hey guys, so in order to pick the right cluster for your year of truck, you're going to go to the website whiteautoandmedia.com, and you're going to go to the shop button, scroll down to full-size pickup trucks, to the 2014 to 2019, and then the cluster retrofit. Once you're here, scroll to the bottom of this page, and you're going to go to the part number, fitment, technical resource link. It's going to bring you to this forum. In this forum, you can scroll down, and it's going to give you all the information you need to figure out what part number, which are all these, what part number you need for your specific cluster. So let's see here. We want to find the diesels. I think they're towards the bottom. There you go. Once you find which cluster you need, that's the number you need to go and source to find the specific cluster for your year. Once you've found that cluster, you're going to go back over to, let's see here, back to this page. scroll up, and then you can fill out the information. So VIN number, if you're going to supply the cluster yourself, or if you want them to supply it, they can supply it for you, whether your cluster is newer or used, because they have to program it 2 different ways. And if you want the heads-up display enabled on it, so at some point you can add heads-up display if you want, which I didn't opt to do that. Add it to the cart and pay it, and then once you do that, you can send it all in, ship it over to them, and they'll get it all swapped out for you and programmed and ship it back.